Empoleon got buffed again, basically. This Pokemon is already one of the strongest Pokemon for quite a while now, but now there's a different playstyle towards this Pokemon as Waterfall got buffed more, stronger than at least PvP expected. I said in my videos all the time, all the buffs that I was expecting were actually true. Both the move Waterfall as well as the move Heat Wave are as much as I expected them to be, which makes them a little bit stronger than what PvP had before on their rankings. Now it's all fixed. And still, PvP is suggesting Metal Sound on the Empoleon. And I'm not too sure if this is going to be actually the case. It really depends. There are two sides to this coin. Basically, Waterfall is going to allow you to have way better damage output, way better damage output for Empoleon, which also helps them out if you have the Shadow Empoleon. Shadow Empoleon going to utilize the fast move of Waterfall quite a bit more, as you're going to be able to, of course, pressure the opponent more to just them being in range for one charge move instead of two charge moves. And here, for example, we see a scenario where it would have been better most likely to not have Waterfall. We're up against a Carbink. Against Carbink, I would rather went for two charge moves with a double super effective fast move instead of having Waterfall, which takes a little bit longer. But now, thanks to Waterfall being 10 energy, which I was expecting, it's only 4 fast moves in order to go for any of the charge moves that Empoleon has, which in this case as well, got them super low and allows us to win the first battle. And if you can read the title, I actually went 12 games unbeaten, which means I won 12 games in a row, and I did not lose a single one. I just stopped using this team because I want to try out other Pokemon. But this is literally an unbeaten run with this team that is just mostly one of the most broken teams that you can currently run, especially the way it's currently designed here for this specific team. I think it's going to be absolutely fantastic in the current meta. Why? Because currently the most common lead by far is an Iolape. And you have the better answer towards this Pokemon basically here in the lead with the Altaria. We're running a Volt Switch on our Fortress, which is going to help out with other opponents' Empoleon, which is going to be quite important. But just generally, you're going to be, in my opinion, the better Say-Stop. Sometimes you get some ground types in because they want to avoid your lead, but it is what it is. Here, Waterfall, by the way, helps us out quite a bit, knocking out that Skeledirge immediately. In comes the Raichu, and we're going to be able to win this battle at this point. They could have went for a charge move though with their Skeledirge to force my shield. I still would have won because I still had in the back here my Fortress with full health. So there was no way they would have been able to win this battle. But here, Shadow Empoleon is going to be able to knock them out. Clotsire is going to be our next opponent, and that's not going to be that great for us. Honestly, it's really not going to be that great. By the way, we have another buff here, of course, in this team as well, with a Fortress running a Sand Tomb, which is now doing double the amount of damage compared to last time, which doesn't mean that the Sand Tomb itself is going to be a strong move, which you're going to see here as well against the opponent's Clotsire. It just means that you do a little bit more damage. It's already still only 40 damage for a 40 energy move, which is not that great. But of course, you have the double debuff, the single debuff that you get here, the double debuff from the Acid Spray as well. I want to talk about later. But the single debuff is coming through, which now allows us to do a little bit more damage with the second one. But these are now 2 super effective charge moves against the Clotsire, and it doesn't even do a third. So a bit tricky. Here, they are going to be able to knock us out with the Earthquake, but I'm actually kind of alright with that. I can get more energy with my Altaria. And let's see what they're going to go into. They're going to go into Hariyama. Interesting Pokemon. Of course, these are my first 12 battles in the season. I went, actually, for my first 5 sets, which is actually, I lost 1 game in the set because of me having that still done from the last season, so it doesn't count. I went 22 out of 24. Which is really, really strong. I think it was my strongest season start ever. And by the way, funny enough as well, I made a video only recently about the new PvP update and had the issues with it. The PvP update is completely reverted as far as I know right now. It's not live at all. There are a lot of issues that we of course saw as well in the video. I do think they're just fixing it and then trying to bring it back again. But right now at least, there's going to be no new PvP update in terms of the battle mechanics itself because of the bugs that were happening. Alright, we're going to have Hypno against us here. Hypno has access to Ice Punch, and so I tried to catch the move, it didn't work out, but we have 2 good answers against Shadow Hypno in the back. Hypno is going to be a little bit stronger this season. If you saw my top Pokemon that kind of got buffed without getting a buff, Hypno was, I think, one of them. This Pokemon is going to be very, very strong. Here, we're going to have the Medicham against us, a Pokemon I want to still try out as well. Medicham got buffed as well with a Psycho Cut, and we're going to let the move go through because what we have here is we still have actually another charge move coming in, which is fantastic for us, dropping the opponent's defense here again. But we're going to still have our 2 Pokemon here that's going to pressure them quite hard. We're going to have the Altaria coming in. I could shield this move up, but I rather want to keep my shields for my Empoleon because this is exactly how you want to play this team. You want to keep your shields for the Empoleon because now you have not only charge move pressure with it, you also have fast move pressure. And here we see two Pokemon that Empoleon is going to be great against. We have the Hydro Cannon coming through against the opponent's Hypno here. We're going to get the shield from them. And we're going to try our best to, get hopefully to another move very soon. Thunder Punch is coming in. We're going to shield this move up. We can go for the Hydro Cannon. And this is really, really good because what we see here is that this Hydro Cannon is going to get the shield from the opponent. We are going to be able to shield up the move as well, and we just try to go for the full farm down, but the sub out into the Wigglytuff, I am going to be able to reach another Hydro Cannon, which is going to do massive amount of damage here, as we see, but they're going to knock us out now, and so it's all down to Altaria. But Altaria has a little bit of energy from previous matchups, so I have to just try to get to a Sky Attack in time, which I do, and now it just depends on if we're going to be able to knock out the opponent before they can knock us out, and Hypno is coming in, we can go for the full farm down, and we can move on to the next opponent. Steelix against us. We're gonna try our best to, actually stop out of here because they're having Dragon Tail. Otherwise I would have stayed in. If they didn't have Dragon Tail, I would have stayed in because what we would have had there is then the option to go for Flamethrower. But Dragon Tail, of course, super effective against us in the lead. I don't really want to play that out, especially when we have two Pokemon in the back that resist this move. Thunder Fang would have been definitely a little bit more tricky for us. Here, in comes the Azumarill. I have to say I barely really go for the Sand Tomb. Here, Rock Tomb just makes more sense, does more damage directly, and puts them into farm down range for me, which is perfect because now we ended up with a ton of energy for the upcoming matchup. In comes the Steelix, they go for their own charge move, so be it. It is going to be, though, the Breaking Swipe, which is kind of funny, and I can go for two fast moves, get up to 100 energy, and go for those Sand Tombs. Sand Tomb is coming in, getting the shield, which is kind of crazy because that makes no sense. But we just dropped the opponent's defense. Earthquake comes in, knocks us out. Have fun with that. But we have our Empoleon, which has a fantastic matchup here. In comes Roserade. We can get the final shield thanks to our charge move coverage. And of course, you know already at this point, this game is over. There's nothing they can do. They even... Okay, I don't know why I stop out of here. That makes zero sense. They gave up their Roserade, which just... I guess I just didn't expect. They go for an Earthquake against our Altaria. This is just painful to watch. But Flamethrower's coming in, is going to allow us to get the KO, and let's see what's coming in next. Altaria against Altaria. This is going to be fine. We are going to be able to get some nice damage on, and I can go for the Sky Attack. I can try to catch the move if I want to, as Sky Attack would not be that much of an issue against our own Fortress, but let's see what we're going to do. They go for the Sky Attack, and now we should be again on the same amount of energy. We see the Sky Attack loading up, and I can swap out to catch the move. Our neutral hit is not resisted thanks to our bug typing. It's going to be neutral, but we're going to be able to go for the full farm down as I swap out into the Jellicent. And this is exactly why you want to kind of run the moveset of a Volt Switch here in this meta, is there are going to be quite a few Pokemon where you're going to be so much better off just going for Volt Switch damage. Unless you end up against the ground type, it's just generally mainly better as a safe swap to not run Bug Bite. Bug Bite itself, though, is very good as a close-up. I did some coaching today as well, where we played as well the Shadow Fortress with Bug Bite, and that thing was a monster. But basically here, it's just making way more sense as a safe swap to run the Volt Switch, in my opinion, and the non-Shadow version, just because you have more play. Anyway, we're going to have here the Sky Attack coming in. This is going to allow us to get the shield from the Umbreon with a head on. Fantastic thing here. I love when they have costumes, but this Sky Attack is going to get them a little bit lower. And now I try to go for the Rock Tomb, which I can. This allows me now just to take the hits easier, no matter what they really want to do here. I should stay in until they knock me out, which they're very letting on trying to do here right now. And with that, I am absolutely in a position where I can just swap out of here and knock them out with our Empoleon. We just always need 4 fast moves to go, 4 a charge move with a new fast move here of Waterfall being buffed there. But the opponent is going to go down here. This is going to be kind of funny because Hydro Cannon is going to be able to knock out the Umbreon, and Waterfall is honestly such a good fast move on this Pokemon. Here, make a mistake. I expected the Confusion version of Girafarig, which is not the case. And this battle itself, I absolutely kind of mess up. So sit back and enjoy the show. This is going to be a bit of an interesting one because what we see here is the opponents have Vigoroth against us, which is again not really the most common meta Pokemon. A lot of the teams here that we faced so far were not like the top meta, but still I had a few opponents that definitely knew what they were doing as well more. And I had a lot of very strong opponents still in this video later on, so It's not that we just went on 12-game win streak just against people who just start into the game. We have a lot of veterans as well of the game here. Whiscash though itself is literally just as like no play. Like this is the reason why Whiscash is like in my opinion currently maybe the number 4 or 5 Mud Boy, because it has no coverage against this Pokemon here. While for example you have with Sludge on the Swampert coverage against Altaria, or even better with Stone Edge on the Quagsire, you're going to have more coverage than whatever here this Pokemon is trying to do. I'm fairly certain though that actually Whiscash would learn Blizzard. So that could be an interesting one as well, just to catch like some of those off guard. You could actually run Whiscash just to break the core of Altaria plus the Empoleon. And that would be actually kind of funny, because that is literally one of the only Pokemon that can do that because of the coverage that you have. You can just run Mud Bomb and Blizzard. That would be funny. Please someone do that. Like please someone do that. I do think that a Whiscash most likely would be able to just one-shot the Altaria. I'm not too sure, but it's such a common core again here. We are playing the exact same core as well. It would be definitely interesting to take a look at it. But yeah, we are of course winning all the battles here today in this video. Like there's not much more that I can say towards it. A Blizzard, by the way, is doing enough damage to one-shot the Altaria, even from non-shadow version, which is perfect. Yeah, that is going to be something that I might have to take a look at, because I find that quite intriguing that you have a Pokemon like this that is actually able to beat this specific problem. And Politoed, Politoed is very similar towards this as well. Politoed has access to Ice Beam, which is kind of cool, but it's not as great against the Empoleon. Ice Beam of Politoed is doing 93%, so you would most likely with the much damage as well add up quite fast to the point where you can knock out the Altaria. There are fewer, at least, core breakers now available for you to break the Empoleon plus Altaria core, which we're utilizing here. But let's take a look at what the opponent's going to have next. They have the Credilli. Credilli is going to be fine. I should most likely shield this move up, as we are kind of trying to get them lower. And in comes the Altaria from the opponent. I should be able to take a Flamethrower. This is actually not really looking that great, I have to say. Like, this is actually not really looking that great, but they let the move go, which is going to be just good for us. As they go for their own charge move, the Flamethrower, it's going to get us low. And I can still reach another charge move and then swap out afterwards, which allows me to have at least some more fast move pressure for late game against the opponent. But here we can go for a charge move. This is going to allow us to get the KO against the Altaria. And now it's only the Credilli left, which still has some solid amount of HP, but what we have as well is the Sky Attack spam. And with that, we are going to be able to get the shield from the opponent. We are going to be able to shield up the opponent's move here. And I do think that they might be able to outspeed us, but I can stop out of here, catch the move onto the Empoleon, and with this game is absolutely over. You're going to be able to win this one, thanks to Altaria mainly, but like this core is now even more broken. Like, I really enjoyed the Waterfall Empoleon, by the way. If you haven't seen that yet, like Empoleon with Waterfall actually has quite a lot of potential. Okay, my entire team can beat a Venusaur, especially if they are running Razor Leaf. Yeah, I'm sorry about this. This is early games of the season. It's always a fun thing to watch. That's why, for example, hold on a little bit as well currently with the Annihilate. I would like to see on better opponents as well, on how strong this Pokemon can be. I know, like here, people start off, but what I would recommend here if you are new to Go Battle League and you kind of want to start into the game is go onto PvP and like mainly first on which Pokemon are strong, which Pokemon. Venusaur, for example, wouldn't be most likely that high up. It's not bad Pokemon just generally. Arcanine, for example, is a bad Pokemon. You wouldn't want to run this Pokemon at all. And then look also up what are the recommended movesets for those Pokemon. That doesn't mean that for every team those are going to be the exact moves that you want to run. For example, you have the option for Florges to run basically 4 good charge moves in Disarming Voice, Moonblast, Trailblaze, as well as the Chilling Water. But you have to choose 2 of them, which mainly depends on which kind of team you're running. So yeah, that is kind of how this goes. Just go to PvP, check out which Pokemon are good and which Pokemon moves they should have, and then go by that. There's the thing as well, it's the best play just generally here, by the way, Annihilate against us with a new fast move low kick, which makes it very, very stronger. But that's the thing as well here, just start playing the game and you can adapt later on, but like make it as easy as possible for you in the beginning if you want to start into Go Battle League. Anyway, as we see here, the Annihilate is going to be able to go for another hard-hitting Rage Fist, but of course this time around we are forced to use a shield because we are going to try to get rid of their shields as well. This charge move is coming through. It's going to get this guy take the knockout here against the opponent, and comes the Drapion, which I have an alright answer here in the Empoleon, but it's not that great either. We are going to be able to get the KO or like the shield first before the opponent actually does anything, but actually they just keep all the energy and stop it into the Licky Licky. I didn't even see this in time. The Hydro Cannon is now coming in. This is going to allow us to do some solid damage, I want to say, but we're going to get the shield from the opponent. And I can actually shield up their move as well. It's going to be the Shadow Ball, which is fine. And we do a lot of damage here, which is perfect, as I have now a charge move stored. This is absolutely beautiful, as now the Shadow Ball is coming in. And we're going to have now the charge move coming through as well. This is going to be enough to take them down. And hopefully you enjoyed this one, because we're going to have another exciting battle coming up next. A bit of a longer video. Mightyena. Mightyena is ahead as a topic today as well while coaching. I have not yet found a team where Mightyena is strong for me. I know though, in the right hands, this Pokemon is fantastic. And I'm I'm a player that mainly runs Pokemon that are squishy and that are a bit more, out of the box and whatever, unless I'm showcasing the most broken core, which got buffed again this season. Sorry about that. The next video is most likely going to be a bit more creative. But basically, I just don't really see on, I don't know, how to make a team around Mightyena. Mightyena has a ton of potential. I think it's an interesting Pokemon with the damage output that you have, but I just never am able to make it work. I've never been able to make it work, and that is kind of unfortunate. Anyway, kind of unfortunate as well is in how weak the opponent is again against the Empoleon with Waterfall. They bring in something like this DX here, but they didn't expect that I'm just going to be able to chunk away their health like it's nothing. As the Psychic Wings comes in here, we're going to try our best to go for another charge move here with our Altaria to knock out the opponent. This is going to be it for this game, and we can move on to the final one, because guess what? This Wigglytuff is not going to enjoy our Empoleon too much. This is going to be easily a matchup that we can win, even though they're debuffing us and we should have let the move go through. They're just going to get too low that the Hydro Cannon here is going to put them easily into foul range. I think one more fast move or something afterwards. Never mind, we just knock them out straight away, and we can move on to the final one for this video. There's going to be another showcase later on, so definitely stay tuned and subscribe for that one as well, as you're going to see here the usage of a Volt Switch on this fortress. We're going to have the say-so of the Empoleon against us, and now we do super effective damage. And here's the thing, we're actually still going to have to invest a shield more than the opponent needs to, because we just don't do enough damage. But it's fine, because we have now a ton of energy for the upcoming matchup, which especially with 2 debuffing moves can help us out a ton even in the long run. But turns out it's going to be Flygon, which is a Pokemon that is very much difficult to deal with. This Pokemon resists basically most of our moves. Only the Phantom would be not resisted, but I don't really want to go for it. And so I'm going to decide to go for here the charge move against them. And in comes now the opponent going for, I think oh, it's this Phantom. Phantom is actually enough to knock us out here. I didn't really expect that. Flygon is going to be definitely using the Twister quite happily. And I want to make the Twister showcase as well, so definitely stay tuned for that one on this channel. Because Twister is one of the strongest moves in the game currently, I feel like. Just based on the damage that I've seen so far. A very overpowered move there generally. But here in comes the opponent's Wigglytuff again. And as soon as Wigglytuff is aligned against the Empoleon, we know already it's going to be a tough battle to come back from this one. As now we're going to be able to get the KO against them here for sure. As they're going to, never mind, they're going to shield here, the final move. That's going to be okay for us as well, as I can go for another charge move, and now they don't have shields, and now we're definitely going to be able to win. Empoleon is absolutely broken. We are going to be able to win this battle here at the end. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, feel free to leave a like, and let me know down below which Pokemon do you want to see next.